Hi, BookTube. So now that March is right around the corner, tomorrow, in fact, I wanted to sit down and talk about the books I plan to read in March. I feel like March has always been like a banner month for readathons, and this year, there's even more readathons to be participating in, but I am going with my standby March readathons that I've been participating in the last, I don't know how long, 4, 5, 6 years, something like that. But 3 is enough to be getting on with, and I'm going to be participating in Middle Grade March, March of the Mammoths, and March Mystery Madness. And I will leave a link in the description below to the reading events and the hosts and co-hosts and things like that. But yeah, with all that being said, with my setting out my TBR, I am going to be going on a trip towards the end of the month, kind of like a spring break trip. But depending on the weather. Like I took off a total of 2 weeks for work, but I might have to like finagle that depending on if there's snow and stuff. Because living out here in the West, like anywhere I'm going, I feel like I have to cross mountains, and that's always kind of dicey in March. So it could be a week off from BookTube and reading, or it could be 2 weeks, something like that. So I'm being very ambitious with my TBR. But there's a reason for that, because when I was looking for my middle grade books, I wanted to focus on the books I owned first to see what I have to fit any of these readathons before I went to look at digitally what I could get at my libraries. So when I was looking at the middle grade, I feel like just enough to get me through the month and complete my middle grade shelf. There is a caveat though that I just showed you a week or two ago my Little House on the Prairie, Laura Ingalls Wilder book collection. There are some middle grade books on that shelf that I won't be touching, or if I do, I'll read one or two, but I won't complete that middle grade bookshelf. But if I read all of these books, then I will have emptied out and cleared out my middle grade bookcase. And so that's always a fun feeling, because one of my goals this year is to really pull and read books off my shelf. I really want to get my TBR down to below 50 would be great. So I'm just going to run through these super quick. A lot of these are books I found at little free libraries, because like these middle grade books, I don't plan on keeping any of these. I only kept like my absolute favorites, and these are readily, especially the Newbery books, they're readily available online, but I just use these as like extra prompts to get me to read the Newbery Winners and Honor books, because that's like a side challenge that I've been doing for a couple of years now. When I see these at little free libraries, I always pick up if there's a Newbery winner, as an extra nudge to get to them sooner rather than later. But this is Bud Not Buddy by Christopher Paul Curtis, and it says, let's see, classic about a boy in search of his father in 1936 Flint, Michigan. Catherine Called Birdie by Karen Cushman. And this is a sequel. I read the first book in this series a year or so ago, but let me see here. Yeah, her father is planning to marry her off to the wrong man, like a rich man. One of those like historical fiction books. Scorpions by Walter Dean Myers. This one says, the quick little quote says, "The deal went down the way the deal went down. You on the street, you got to take what the street put down." And it's about a boy who's been given a gun. He knows it's a bad idea, but he takes the gun anyway. So this could be a harrowing story. The Good Master by Kate Sarady. I have no idea what this one's about. Let me see. I don't know any of these are actually, I haven't read them yet. But it takes place in Budapest over a summer. There's gypsies, county fairs, festivals. Sounds interesting. More lively than these covers. I feature these covers on the tag. I recently was talking about covers I don't like, and this is one of them. Let's see, Woods Runner by Gary Paulson. I have several books by Gary Paulson. I've read a lot of his books, and whenever I see one of his, he predominantly wrote middle grade books, and some of them have very similar titles. Like I have one on my shelf called the Wood Song, and then this one's Woods Runner. But he writes a lot of books, like adventure story books for boys, featuring boys. This one is, and there's like a library sticker covering it, How Angel Peterson Got His Name, and Other Outrageous Tales About Extreme Sports. And this seems to take place in northern Minnesota, and it seems to mirror Gary Paulson's life, because he grew up in that area as well. Like talks about waterfalls and gliding and army surplus stores, skateboarding. And then this last one here is Thornhill by Pam Smythe, a book I got at a Little Free Library, actually. Even though it's like, hardcover, it looks really nice. But you never know what you'll find at Little Free Libraries. But I picked this up because I thought it was interesting. Like the cover itself is interesting. It seems like it's some kind of gothic ghost story, I think. But it's told between pictures on one storyline, and then another storyline, maybe told from a different perspective, is these diary entries. So it seems to be two girls, maybe, stories in here. So that seemed interesting enough. So those are my books for middle grade March. Again, being very ambitious. If I only have 2 weeks in March, we'll see. And speaking of being ambitious, my pick for March of the Mammoths, and for that readathon, it's selecting a book over 800 pages. But I am cheating a little bit because, again, I want to read books off my shelf. And this is, for me, like, it seems like a very mammoth type book. And it is 664 pages. And it's extra wide, so I feel like I should get some brownie points. It should go up to like 700 pages with being extra wide, like a textbook kind of size. But this is 100 Years of Authors, Ideas, and Literature from the New York Times Book Review. And this is going all the way back from the very first year of the New York Times doing book reviews, 1897. And it goes all the way to what year? 1999. And I have already started it. I am on year 1932, and there are like side blurbs here talking about specific things, or there's sometimes there is pictures of different authors. This is William Faulkner, but it has been such an enjoyable read so far, and I'm looking forward to getting through quite a bit more this month. With March of the Mammoths, as the originator of this readathon, Jason over at Old Blues Chapter and Verse, was saying how the mammoth that you pick, you don't have to read it all in 1 month. Like, you can, but you can go forward through the year reading it, like he himself has done. So we'll see how much progress I make with this one. And then for March Mystery Madness, I have several ebooks because I only have one book left on my shelf that is a mystery book. And for mystery books, I love mystery and thriller, but I never buy them new because they're so readily available digitally through my library. So I don't pick them up. But I do have one physical copy, and that's A Gothic Treasure Trove. And I've been reading this, I feel like maybe I've read one every year since I purchased this, but I am on book 3 in this bind-up, Kirkland Reveals by Victoria Holt. I recognize that author's name. I might have read something by her, but this is taking place in England, and it's a Gothic story. I feel like each of these stories is about a woman who's new to this gigantic house, and at some point she's running away, scared for her life. Seems to be the storylines. And each of the introductions to each story, or each book, has their own pictures. And then there's also another one inside as well. And then sometimes there's pictures sprinkled into the story. Let me see if I can find one. Yeah. Something's going on there. So I want to read at least one from this bind-up, and after that, then I would have 3 more. So I'll be right in the middle of it. So maybe I can read 2. We'll see. But then for the other mystery books, I am going to be reading from my Kindle, and I have 6 books to choose from, or I hope I can get to all these. We'll see. But I decided to go with books that most of these books I am in the middle of the series. I really want to focus on series because I have so many. These aren't even all the mystery series I am reading, but these are the ones I had just checked out from my library. So, and actually, let me see, I wrote them down so I would know the name of the series. So the first one is Misfortune Mystery Series, and this is Gator Bait by Jana de Leon. And so that's this one here. and this is taking place in Louisiana, and she is Miss, Fortune, that's her name, and she is a CIA agent, but she is undercover because something went wrong on her previous mission. So she gets sent to a place where she is posing as like this very much buttoned up, ladylike, like beauty pageant girl, which is not her at all. She's very much a tomboy and very athletic, as a CIA agent would be, on assignments. But so she's constantly doing things wrong, like with her hair and things like that, and leaping and jumping when she shouldn't be. But so it's a very amusing series, and I think right now I'm on book 4 or 5. And the next one is The Sweet Goodbye by Ron Corbett, and this is a Danny Barrett thriller. That one there. And for this one, I am not familiar at all with this series or this author, Ron Corbett, but I have seen him around, I feel like, in stores and stuff. And so this one sounded intriguing, so I'm gonna try that one. But all the other ones I am familiar with. So Death Without Company by Craig Johnson, and this is the part of the Longmire series. I just read the prequel 2 months ago, and so I believe this is the very first book. I don't think I read the first one. I think this is the first one in that series, and this is about a Wyoming sheriff in small town Wyoming. And I thought it was interesting. The author himself lives in small town Wyoming. Speaking of Wyoming, the next one is by C.J. Box, Long Range. And I feel like with this one, I am very far into the series, like book 20 something, I think. And this is the Joe Pickett series, and it's a small town Wyoming game warden, and it's very like fast paced, and I really like that series. And then another like Western series is B.J. Daniels. She writes a lot of her books set in Montana, and in that one as well, B.J. Daniels, she lives in small town Montana, and this is Out of the Storm, a Buckhorn, Montana book 1 in her series. And she writes, I feel like almost solely like romantic suspense books. So there's some romance in the books that she writes, but it mainly is like, fast-paced thrillers where someone's out to get, the main character. And what I like about her writing is she often has multiple storylines that you're following, and you're getting to know the town and the family and the friends, all while a mystery and a romance is going on. So I like the multi-layer aspect of that. And then the last one is Slay It With Flowers by Kate Collins. And I just read a book by her last week, and this is an not ex-lawyer. She was going to law school, but she ended up dropping out. And so now her life has like been turned upside down, and she is running a flower shop, and that's kind of more like a cozy mystery, and things are going awry. It's an older cozy mystery. I think it came out in the early 2000s, but it's a book where I found it at a local free library, and I really liked it, so I'm continuing on with the series. So those are all of the books that I'm planning on reading in March. It's more of I think people are, instead of saying TBR, they're saying like pile of possibilities. This for sure is more of a pile of possibilities. It would be wonderful if I was able to get to all of these. I can only keep my fingers crossed. But yeah, let me know what readathons you're going to be participating in, if any, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, BookTube.